In 2001, we had a young lady by the name of Angela Henry who came to assist, and then she came back in 2003. In 2003, her folks also came with her, and they made a great discovery. So if you would greet now for me, and I've got to turn my program over, Bob and Ginny Hawk. Put your hands together and welcome them to the stage. We'll stand right over here. We're just glad to have them here, and they're going to tell you about these fabulous posters that you saw on the wall during intermission and how they were discovered.
Thank you. It's great to be back in Leadville, and all of the Flatlanders like to come here because of the low humidity and the cool temperatures, and so I don't miss the heat and humidity at all. Many years ago, we came through here when our daughter was quite young. She absolutely fell in love with Leadville, and especially Baby Doe Tabor and the Tabor Opera House. Moved the clock forward to 2001, and she called out to talk to Sharon Bland, and she said, any chance I could volunteer? Well, ultimately, it turned out that she came out and stayed with Mrs. Furman at the house at the end of Harrison, volunteering for about 3 years or so. 2003, we came out to be here while she was here. In the meantime, she had met Gretchen, and it's no wonder that Bill and Sharon took the keys away. So, but we were here, and they offered to give us a tour, so my wife Jenny's going to tell you about the tour.
All right. This was at a time that Gretchen still had the keys. And so it was 26th of July, 2003. We were invited to go on a tour of the Opera House, and it was one that the public would not normally go on, sorry. But they took us clear from the bottom, clear up to the top. And after we made all these flights of stairs, clear up, and we got to the very top floor, it was messy. That's probably why they don't let people go up there that much. That looked like there had been rooms, maybe hotel rooms, day rooms, I'm not sure. And the rooms had the walls removed to put these beams up to help stabilize the building for the Opera House. And while the others kind of went off and were looking at the rest of this room, I'm kind of snoopy, so I started looking at the floor, and the linoleum on the floor looked like it had paper under it. And I thought, well, I wonder what that is. It's bright colored paper. So kind of lifted the linoleum up, and under this linoleum were beautiful prints. I didn't know what it was at the time, that they looked like they had been folded and made as insulation. And then they put the linoleum over the top. So once everybody saw what was going on, we started lifting the flooring, and we found more pictures and more posters, and then we had this big puzzle and more puzzles to put together, and went out to the rest of the building to lay our posters down, and Bob can tell you the rest.
My wife's index finger has gotten us into more projects. It involves wallpaper, it involves paint, and it involved these. So anyhow, we were up there, and we began to pick these things out, and they were folded, and apparently it had been put down as underlay to smooth out the floor, or possibly as insulation, but they had been nailed down, and they were huge. As you can see back here on the side, on either side, some of these things were really big, very colorful, and some really interesting graphics going on here. Here's two guys riding a cow, and the dog is stealing the hot dogs. I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. Many of these were right after turn of the century, as near as we could tell, based upon some of the dates on them, as well as the dress. Looks like a rather raucous occasion. And I'm not sure about the goat cart, but interesting. As you can see, we laid these out up in where this was the Elks Opera House. There was a bar, and there was a place where they had a ballroom. So we had to clear things out and lay these out, and it was a huge puzzle. And as you can see, some of them were damaged, either by water or by the way the stuff had been shifted over time. Fortunately, they used small nails to go through these. Some were wrinkled. much like myself. And Mutt and Jeff were characters that I was familiar with from growing up, as a young boy in the 50s and seeing the comic books and things. I was not around turn of the century. But very, very colorful, and we knew immediately that these were something really neat, but in the back of my mind I'm thinking, oh good Lord, what are Bill and Sharon going to think when they find out we've torn up all the linoleum in the top floor? But that didn't stop us. They were big enough that I had to crawl up on the Elks bar with my camera and do it sideways, trying to get them in, because there's no way I could get up high enough to get all of the things in. But as you can see, they were in extremely good condition. They'd been protected from the light over the years. Had they not been used, 50 people, mostly girls. I mean, it's back here, what can I say? I mean, you can't hardly top that. And as you can see on this particular one that had the 50 girls, lots of people, mostly girls, that this one was from turn of the century. 1904 was the date on the lithography. So a lot of good detail, one of the mostly girls. And this one was particularly kind of a haunting look. This is over on this north wall over here. And just really beautiful artwork, a little damage to it, but fortunately using small nails, not too bad. Some other things that showed up, a few of these had dates on them, so I don't know if they could go back in the archives and find out when they happened. But there's the Mutt and Jeff that's over on this wall. And some of the other things, Mrs. Fisk was a play that apparently had been put on. And if you'll notice out in the foyer, there's an actual photograph of Mrs. Fisk that's out there. So I'm not sure about the smoke rings there. We'll go on to the next one. So lots of detail, some damage, but I think that Sharon has gotten somebody that did an amazing job of preserving these to keep them for posterity and for others to enjoy. Had it not been for somebody trying to save a little money years ago, they would have been gone forever. So this is left over from the Elks Opera House, and again, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to. This is up in the ballroom where they were all laid out. But thank you all for letting us participate with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on the third floor at that time, there were 25 sleeping rooms, and there was a catwalk that went from the third floor over to the Clarendon Hotel, which sat just to the south where the Come and Go is. That way the rich and famous could go back and forth without going out in the public eye, or our 2 or 3 days of inclement weather that we have up here each year. That's all we have, right? Well, a few people, the tourists come, think we have it each week. I'm not sure about that. I mean, it hasn't snowed in at least a month. Well, maybe 3 weeks at least since it snowed. But there were sleeping rooms up there. The Elks did modify the front end over the store section, and on the third floor, and hopefully one day open to the public, again, is a great ballroom, and that's where they spread all these out. But it was a great find. You'll enjoy the posters afterwards. We're going to continue with our, well, first, before we go on, the ladies, the individuals who, with Sharon's direction, framed all of these is B. and Don Colburn. Are you here tonight? Stand if you would. Right down here. Thank you. They did a fabulous job, not an easy job. They did a fabulous job of putting these together and then also working out to get them hung in the Opera House, and we appreciate their work.